All right, my friends, welcome here to the final segment inside of this course. We have gone through a ton, not just in this entire series, but even here inside of this particular training. We're going to look at the problem and the possibility. Here's the problem. You still think software will save you. The possibility, software supports and accelerates who you are. 2, you think strategic seduction just fits in an online system. Well, the possibility is you realize strategic seduction is a way of life. 3, you believe strategic seduction only applies to money. But the truth and the possibility is you apply strategic seduction to everything that you do. 4, you think strategic seduction only happens once in an exchange. And the possibility for number 4 is you must master the game of stacking frames of seduction. Now, that problem and possibility opened us up to our principles, which are very simple. 1, without the container, you cannot contain her. Number 2, seduction is who you are, not what you do. 3, people love to buy, aka be seduced, but they hate to be sold. 4, patience brings prosperity. Now let's take this down to our production principles and our strategies. Number 1, leverage strategic seduction with your spouse. Number 2, leverage strategic seduction with your children. Number 3, leverage strategic seduction with your team. And the big one, leverage strategic seduction with yourself. Now, once we've done all this and we've created a new game, it's now time for us to, well, discuss the plan. We've got to figure out what are we going to actually do from here. We've kind of got a bit of an action game going on with our strategy session and our production game, but we're going to look at this now through plan. There is one door that we are going to open, and that door is a simple one. The door is to teach strategic seduction in its entirety to one other person. Teach strategic seduction in its entirety to one other person. Okay? So that's the door that we're going to open. So if we knew we were complete, this means you literally sat down and you taught the pre-frame to strategic seduction. You taught communicate message. You taught capture permission. You taught convert mindset. You taught compel action. You taught close commitment. You taught collect cash. And then you taught strategic seduction applied. Okay, which means you've taught all 8 of these courses. Now, do you need to spend 8 hours doing it? No! But you do need to teach it. Which means it can be done in an hour, could be done in a couple hours, could be done in 30 minutes. But nonetheless, the door we're going to open is teach strategic seduction in its entirety to one other person. Now, why? Why is this the case? Here's what we know. Right? When a person watches or a person listens or a person reads, when a person watches, listens, or reads a situation, okay, or content or curriculum, there is a certain level of learning. Okay, when that person that has watched, listened, or read writes down what it is that they have seen, there is a second learning. So if we looked at this in waves of learning 1, wave of learning 2, write it down. Wave of learning 3 is teach someone else. Now, you might look at this and be like, well, what the fuck am I going to teach them if I haven't actually implemented any of it? That's fine. You're not trying to teach from your experience. You're trying to teach from the theory of what you've come to understand. When you teach it this first round, it's going to give you insight into how you're explaining it. Things are going to make sense to you here at this level that did not make sense to you over here at level 1. There's going to be notes that you took down when you wrote it down that don't make sense, but now that you taught somebody, now there are things that you wrote down now make sense. So our goal is to get to a place that you hit level 3 learning with this as we wrap up this particular course inside of strategic seduction. So what are the keys to pulling this off then? Key number 1, gather your notes. Now, we look at this and we said, listen, level 1 was watch, listen, and read. That's what you've done already. The second piece is to write it down, which I don't know how good you did at that. You might have just listened to this audio-wise, which means if you haven't taken any notes, the first key is to create some notes, create some frameworks. If you need to study the framework concepts and courses on how to build frameworks, great, go ahead and do that too. But inside of this, you're going to want to have some frameworks gathered, because without gathering your notes together, it's going to be impossible to teach someone. Key number 2. Review your notes and create the frames. Okay, so what does that mean? Review your notes and create the frames. Okay, so if I come over here and I look at my game, and let's say I have my notes. My notes are sitting right here, and I've got my notes over here. Maybe you've got some cool little drawings that you did in your notes, okay, and you've drawn them out, and you've got your notes, okay? Notes are going to be generalized experiences. The next piece in this then is to take your notes and to produce them into a frame. Now, I'm going to give you some hints here. You ready for a little hint? I may have already showed you how to do this by just doing it with you. You can also go study on frameworks in the concept of fortune maps. So my suggestion is that you follow the customized fortune maps that I taught you with, so that when you teach this to somebody else, you're actually teaching them from the frames that you already learned from me. So what does this mean? Okay, really simple. Problem. You know this by now. What's the next one? Possibility. What's the next one? Principles. What's the next one? Production strategies. What's the next one? Plan. Now, if you look in the notes for each one of these trainings, each one of these courses in this entire series, you're going to see it there. The frame's already there. Okay, now I'm encouraging you to not just take the frame I've already done and just start teaching that. Okay, you could, but if you don't take your notes and blend them directly into the frames, then you're missing out on that process. It's why, like, you look at some of the problems that kids figure out in school. My daughter gets pissed off because her math teacher makes her do the problems. And even though she gets the right answer, she doesn't show her work, and so she doesn't get credit for the answer. And when I was a kid, that didn't make any sense to me either. I was like, the fuck is this? Like, if I got the goddamn answer, just give me the points. But the problem is that you don't understand the process to getting the answer, which means you might get lucky one time, or maybe you're cheating. Okay, but you won't be able to reverse engineer the production to duplicate the result over and over and over again. So by taking your notes and ideas and concepts and inserting them into my frames, they become a new frame for you. And inside of that, when you teach the problem, possibility, principles, production plan, it becomes a very unique experience for you, and it's something that you can own. If you own it, you'll do it. All right, let's continue. Key number 3. Key number 3, select your student. Now, who could this be? Okay, student could be your spouse, not suggested. Student could be your children, not suggested. Could be though, but I'm not suggesting that you do that. I would say this is like your last resort. Okay, so then who do you teach? Ready? Oh, here we go. My suggestion is that you teach a client, you teach a prospect, or you teach a team member. Because your situation here is going to be very different. You can frame this up as an opportunity for a team member, for a client, or a prospect versus your spouse or children. I'm not saying that your spouse or your children want to get value from it, but what I am saying is that they're going to respond very different to this than a team member, a client, or a prospect would. Okay, now, does this mean that you launch this as some giant webinar? No. Do you get to take credit for this being yours? No. Strategic seduction is mine. We're teaching you on how to use it. This is not authorization for you to go just start fucking running webinars and creating videos and putting them online for free. Okay, and then taking credit for it. That's not part of the game. All right, that gets you a very quick beating. You start pulling that shit off. What I am saying though is I need you to teach it. So pick a team member. Take your marketing team member. If you're watching this, you're not in the marketing, you bring your marketing, bring your chief marketing officer in, bring some of your sales teams in, teach them, bring some of your employees in, bring your executive assistant in, bring your clients in. Okay, bring somebody in that equation that's going to fit. Key number 4. Teach your student. So once we've selected it, we've taught it. Now, what are some ways that you could teach it? Okay, one way you could teach it is virtual live. So that's one place. Okay, so one opportunity is you could teach it virtual live. Okay, another place you could teach. You could teach in person live. You could teach this in multiple sessions. You could teach it in one session. Somebody comes to your office, or maybe they already work for you, so they're in your office, and you sit down with them in person, and off you go. Virtual live. Virtual live, you could do this through a Zoom call or go to webinar call. We'll just not even call this a Zoom call. We'll just call this video stream. FaceTime, whatever. You could do this through phone call. Either way. So you can have a visual of each other or you could not. And you're going to teach it through. You could send them notes. You could not send them notes. Okay, inside of this entire frame, though, if you're teaching it, you want to be able to communicate directly with another person. And here is the key here. Live. This is not record a video and send it out. You must have live engagement. Live engagement. Why? Because live engagement allows you to get real-time response. Well, Garrett, can I teach like 20 people at once? No. I want this to be one-on-one. You start teaching group dynamic, it's going to be different. Teach one-on-one. Pick somebody and go. Take a couple hours and teach it. Okay, Garrett, can I do this as a large webinar? No. Can I do this can I use this as part of one of my other programs? No. We're using this right now for one simple game, which is to simply get you reps and teaching it so that you can openly apply it. So our plan, again, is very simple. You're going to teach strategic seduction in its entirety to one other person. Key number 1 of that is gather your notes. Key number 2 is review your notes and create your frameworks. Key number 3 is select your student. And key number 4 is teach your student either virtual live or in-person live. Now, if we back this entire map out, it's a lot of shit that we've covered. A lot of shit we've covered today. And this ultimately brings us to a conclusion here. There's many supplemental trainings that go deeper into each one of the core strategic seduction areas. You're going to find deeper dive training in communicate message, capture permission, convert mindset, compel action, close commitment, and also here in collect cash. But in strategic seduction applied, the biggest message I want you to catch from this, strategic seduction is a way of being. And when you give yourself permission as a marketer, as a closer, as a human being, to operate from this place of seduction and to truly master the science of this and then to uncover the art of this, what you're going to find inside of this is an experience that is going to transcend anything you ever imagined in business and life. It's not going to be magic overnight, but a commitment to this over a longer period of time, over months and months, and into years and years and into decades and decades is going to build a life and a business and a bank account that's going to make your life seem unrecognizable in the future from what it is today. I appreciate you being here in this particular series here in Strategic Seduction as we've gone through all 7 of the previous courses and here concluding your final 8th course in Strategic Seduction. Again, reminding you there is a ton of supplemental coursework and classwork training available in each one of these sections. But this brings our framework to a close now. you.